All right, I'm back again here. I don't know if this was working correctly. But it's Leeds and we are back. We had to disconnect and recess here. Let's see if we can get better, see if we can get this going better this time. Check 1, 2. Elegy, I need a show in Boston. I need a show in Boston. No, try to make it happen for you.
Yo, yo.
Much better. Now you're in my headphones.
Yeah, it's weird. It's not showing up in mine, but as long as I'm not echoing, I think we're good.
I was going to ask you probably not to use those headphones because when I did an interview before, it picks up a little tinginess in those things. And
Yeah.
And it sucks. But anyways, welcome everybody to Leedz Edutainment Podcast, brought to you by Chubby Chickpea and Mellow Dispensary in Haverhill. And we got a very special guest today, Western Mass's own Jackson Whalan. How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. Thanks so much for having me here.
Yeah.
Got to see some homies in the feed, too. Yeah, man, thanks so much. I've been looking forward to this, and really awesome that you have so many great guests on this podcast. I was, doing a deep dive last couple hours listening to the Lord Finesse one, and the homie Archetype was on here recently. That was cool.
Another fellow Western Massian, I guess you'd say. How do you describe Western Mass people? Is there a term for Western Mass people?
We like to call it the 413. Some people call it the Shire because it's like Berkshire County.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like the westernmost part of Mass, kind of equidistant from New York to Boston.
Yeah. Shout out to homie Kyle Goldstein in the building, good friend of mine. Great artist, and was a Middle East staple employee during a very difficult time. So shout out to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll go back to Western Mass. You are from the Berkshire, Massachusetts, whereas
the Berkshires,
where they call it the Berkshires, which is where you go, mountains, beautiful mountains, and good lodging. I mean, what's in the Berkshires? I've actually never been all my life. I lived in New England. I've never been to the Berkshires, probably because it's so far away. But talk about that area.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's kind of where a lot of people would go to come see the leaves in the fall. There's a lot of cultural heritage here. In terms of the history, Herman Melville wrote Moby Dick here. W.E.B. Du Bois grew up here for part of his life. James Taylor lives up here, has a house up here. So it's not exactly hip hop per se, or the kind of music that I discovered here, but it's known for those kinds of things, that regal type history.
Was the Shining shot there?
Oh man, no.
Because it could have been. It could have been. I could easily picture The Shining in Western Mass.
It can get a little weird out here.
No, that's cool, man. I mean, it's a little more rural. It's a lot more rural than I'm from southern New Hampshire and northern Mass, Essex County, but it's Western Mass is very rural area. It's very, very rural area. So, like I said, shout out my man Jake Milo, who lived. I always forget the town that he lives in, but he's from out there. That's probably because it's a small town in Western Mass. I forget the name of it. But it's he used to say, he was in the woods, and it's just people forget that there's this huge, gigantic section west of Boston. Or west of Worcester, actually. People from Boston out here, they think Western Mass is Worcester and Springfield.
Yeah, I get that a lot, too. I'm from Mass, and they're like, oh, you're from Boston.
Yeah. Are you closer to New York City than Boston?
It's about the same. It's pretty much the same.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Which is cool. I kind of like being, equidistant to both. It's really a cool position to be in. Also, there's a lot of New York people who come up here a lot and stuff. There's a nice back and forth between New York City and here. So, yeah.
And it's good that you're doing music and have a, independent career out there, because a lot of people struggle out there to make it happen. They feel like they have to go to Boston, they have to go to New York just to have a music career, and it's great that you're living proof that you can make it happen out there.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I definitely have felt in the past like I need to go and get it elsewhere too, and I still do. It's just nice to like come back to my spot here after going elsewhere, and spent a few years touring and stuff like that. So there's definitely like a lot that I love here, but I feel like, yeah, I mean, up here, I mean, me and a few other people are making the kind of music we're making, but in general, it's like a lot of singer-songwriters. And, the biggest venue around here is called The Barn. It's like, there's not like...
I love it.
Yeah, we don't have... I mean, there's a couple spots.
Is it literally a barn? Is it just someone's barn? Is it
it's actually a barn. Yeah.
Is it... You got to bring your own sound system, or do they have their own sound system?
They do. They do a good job.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually engineered sound there for a while. It's called the Eggermont Barn. But, yeah, I mean, I'm probably one of the only MC producers who's, performed there, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough out here. Like, I think, thank God for the internet. Thank God for, like, being able to go out and tour, and like connect with people in cities, because that's obviously where it's at. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like being out here is kind of what sets me apart in a way. And there's definitely a lot of artists who are from here and who left and are in LA or Boston or New York or anywhere else too. So.
That's what's up. So, I was obviously reading your bio you sent me and preparing for this. Age 11, hip-hop comes into your life, correct?
Yeah.
What was the albums that did it for you?
Yeah, so, like, when I was growing up, my older brother, Adam, he's like 10 years older than me. He was living in the house, and he left some CDs behind that I found when I was super young. And so it was like De La Soul, Artificial Intelligence, Ready to Die by Notorious B.I.G. And then from those couple CDs, I started seeking it out. And then what really like started the rapping for me was listening to Illmatic and The Score by the Fugees. And I remember like I was writing my first rhyme over the songs, like the lyrics were playing, and I started to write my first rhymes like over those songs.
Yeah. So the first rap name is The Apostle. Is that what it was? Shout out Archetype, because he mentioned that to me first before I read it. He's like, yeah, I knew Jackson when he was I heard of Jackson when he was The Apostle, and then he had to spell correct it because he spelled it the wrong way, and he had to like
Yeah, Aposoul. Yeah.
The Apostle, dude. I love it. We always joke about people. We always joke about our first names. That's not that bad. But there's a level of humor to everybody's first, artist name.
Definitely, you gotta laugh at it like a little bit.
The Apostle.
Yeah, like I run into like high school friends, and they're like, "Yo, the Apostle." It's like, no.
The Apostle, dude. So did you start rapping at 11 years old or 12 years old? What age?
Yeah. I started rapping, and it was like, the classic story. I had a tape recorder and like a Casio keyboard, and me and my little brother, who's 4 years younger than me, we started rapping together at my dad's house after my parents split. We had like a little house. I started rapping. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely laughable for the first couple years.
Everybody's gonna start somewhere.
Yeah. So yeah, I started rapping back then, and like, I didn't really bring it out into the world until I was like 13 or 14, but still pretty young when I did that.
You speak bringing it out to the world. By the age of 17, you're rapping in front of the UN. Right?
Yeah.
17 years old, you're rapping in front of the UN, dude, in New York? I mean, that's bringing it to the world. That's the United Nations.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, what the heck? What was that? What was that like? I mean, what were they thinking to see? Not that they weren't. Not what was their impression of a 17-year-old kid coming in just rapping in front of them. I mean, that's not your average experience.
Yeah, like yeah, bringing hip hop to the UN. It's funny.
Yeah.
Like, there's actually a few different artists who have brought hip hop to the UN in different ways. Like I know Krs One did something with the UN too. But yeah, so like the way that I got into that was through this local youth organization, which really kind of kept me on the right path when I was growing up, called Railroad Street Youth Project. And
Yep.
they had affiliations with an NGO there, like a non-governmental organization. And the event was for the International Day of Peace. So I like wrote an original track, and then I got asked to perform there. And like Jane Goodall was behind me, and
Wow.
Michael Douglas was there. They're like messengers
Nice.
of peace. And you know,
That's hilarious.
like definitely like, you know, the UN and hip hop is definitely like an oxymoron, but I feel like it was a huge response, man. It was like one of those moments where it was affirmed to me that I was like doing the right thing or on the right path.
Yeah.
But if you go on YouTube, you'll be able to find, like, in the deep YouTube archives, there's a video of the performance. I think if you
I
look
watched
up,
it.
like,
I
if you
watched
look
it.
up-
It was hilarious.
Oh, you saw it?
Yeah. I clicked on it. I couldn't believe it. Just the people at the desk behind them being like, I don't know, what is this? I don't even really know. They're like, what's
Yeah.
going on here? I don't know.
Yeah, I was having the time of my life.
This is so funny. You had like long hair and stuff. You looked like a high school kid.
I was like quintessential high school, yeah.
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 That's cool though. So from there, you know, you jump in a band? You get in a band from there?
Yeah, so I always had wanted to like move to New York City growing up, and
Yeah.
I ended up studying at the new school, and then at the new school I met my friend Sam, who's now electronic producer under the name Essex. So we formed a band together in college, and we were just playing in New York City like everywhere we could, as much as we could. We played at some spots down there, like the Webster Hall basement in New York, and like Sullivan Hall, and different like Lower East Side venues. And we put out some music, and we eventually won the New School Battle of the Bands, and so we got awarded some studio time. And yeah, we were going hard. Like while in college, we were starting a band, and we kind of actually got pulled into the like electronic music festival jam band scene for a pretty long time. Like,
Yep.
and that was like a really interesting journey for me, because I was always like super into hip hop, but then I got like, you know, open to a lot of other genres of music, you know, including like producers who kind of travel in those realms, like Grammatic or you know, Big Gigantic, or these electronic artists. So that's kind
So
of
was
more...
the band was called Technicolor, not to be confused with the band, the other band Technicolor, right? There's another band called Technicolor. But you guys apparently might have been first with the name. But it was an electronic band, like they were making, there was electronic beats that you were rapping over. Was it like, it was like more like jam band electronica stuff?
Yeah, so like I was rapping over like electronic beats with definitely like a hip hop influence, but then my friend Sam was playing electric guitar, and eventually we had a drummer and some percussion and different guests that would play with us. So it was kind of like a really heavy blend between like hip hop and electronic music. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I used to just call that stuff jam band electronica. Forgive me.
Yeah, that's kind of, yeah.
But which was a big scene, even out here when I was coming up, jam bands were the thing. I mean, a lot of hip hop dudes, you know, this is coming off of when I was starting out, you know, Roots, when I started doing shows, Roots Phrenology was like the biggest album out, right?
Definitely.
And all of a sudden, every rapper wanted a band. Literally, it was like everybody wanted a band. And it got a lot out of control, but I could see why it worked, because they were able to play more gigs. So you had these bands, these rappers and bands that would play more rock shows and more jam band shows and get more gigs. Because of that, there was more universal, you know, it was more universal. And that was a big thing for probably the first 5 years of my career.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like you must have like had some shows like that at Middle East, right?
Oh yeah, all the
Probably,
time. It was like
probably a ton.
someone's bringing a band, someone's bringing a band. It
Yeah,
was like, all right, which was kind of like annoying in a way from a production setup because we had to deal with all these bands, and sometimes they wouldn't let us know. And then as all of a sudden someone shows up with a band, that's like the worst thing you could do to a promoter and a sound guy is just show up
yeah.
with a band without advancing it.
No tech rider. Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes it'd be like a nine-piece band, like because Berkeley was in town. We're from, Berkeley's in town, so then all of a sudden you had like a jazz horn section. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah. By the way,
Yeah, here's three horns, guitar,
yeah, yeah,
keys. It was like, you guys, you're
yeah,
only doing 15 minutes. Do we really need all this?
yeah, yeah. No, I
So,
definitely, you know, I know how stressful it can be, especially for like the sound engineer. If you know you
oh
didn't get a tech rider and there's a huge band showing up and it's like the inputs are maxed out. It's not a good look. So I'm big on the tech riders and the input lists and stuff. I always send that stuff in.
Yeah. Yeah, note to you rappers, always send a tech writer, even if it's just a turntable, just tell the sound guy or tell the promoter you have this coming because
Yeah,
sometimes you might show up and you realize there's not even a DJ playing there that night, and if you don't have your laptop, you might not even be able to play your set.
yeah, you got to
That's
get that
happened before.
documentation.
Yeah.
Documentation is key.
So
Yeah.
things
Um,
like so. Did you tour end up in India or did the band tour in India? How did you end up in India?
yeah, so it's a very pivotal moment in my life. Like the Technicolor lenses was going well. I was in college, and then I found this like study abroad program that was like kind of exactly what I was looking for because during college I was also studying Eastern philosophy and religion,
Oh,
and
wow.
I was getting really interested in that kind of stuff, like ancient Hinduism and Buddhism, and um, it's interesting, man. I don't know how I like veered off into that, but it was really something that I was pursuing, and so I found this study abroad program and went to India for 3 months, and I was still making beats and doing music out there, and I did perform a couple times, kind of spontaneously, but that was much more focused on like the curriculum was like about sustainability and environmentalism and a little bit of spirituality. So yeah, I spent 3 months out there on like an eco village, and then
What is that? What is an eco village?
yeah, so the place where I was at is called Oroville, and it's like an international community, and in the community there's different types of farms that are focused on like permaculture or organic farming and just trying to live in harmony with the earth and just be a little bit more environmentally conscious of the way that we're living and our impact. So that's what that community was. But the eco village aspect of it was just kind of like people setting up in this one area together to kind of try and be environmentally sustainable.
Cool.
So so
I
yeah,
mean,
three months
do
out
you
there.
still practice Buddhism or is that just was that the thing or
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I carry that with me where, you know, like
yeah.
I'll, in terms of meditation and just like having a mindset, I try to keep it chill and just be like a chill person in life. And then like I'm not as disciplined as I'd like to be right now with meditating, but it definitely benefits me a ton when I do it. And so yeah, I mean like this kind of leads into the next section of what I did when I got back from India, which is I made this Sensitive New Age Guy song and music video, because like after being so immersed in that kind of like new age spirituality, and like I started to go out to California and just like see how deep everyone was with it. I like kind of like started to look at myself a little bit and like almost like laugh at it a little bit. um, so that's how the Sensitive New Age Guy thing came about is because I like kind of started. I was like, all right, I can't take myself too seriously with this, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. So a lot of people take themselves too serious, and they stress themselves out. When you're sensitive new age guy, is that when you kind of go solo and recreate yourself as Jackson Whalen? Rebrand
Yeah.
yourself?
So if we're gonna like keep it chronological, I guess like when I got back from India, my bandmate Sam had started his project Essex and really took off pretty quickly in the electronic realm as like a producer DJ. And
And what
then
is
I
this, like
came,
around 2011, 2012-ish?
yeah, 2012,
The only
13.
reason I say that, the only reason I know that, and I just guessed that, is because that's when the EDM scene really started booming.
That's when, yeah,
I
he,
witnessed it. I witnessed that in Boston as a show pro. I wasn't doing EDM. I dabbled in EDM, but I just saw all these EDM shows come flying through the Middle East and blow up like crazy.
downstairs, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Throde was this weekly party, and they had all these massive EDM DJs first. They do it every Tuesday night, and everybody huge that you see now all started there.
Totally. Yeah, so Sam really like caught that wave, at
Yep.
the right moment, and I was out in India, and then I came back, and like I really worked hard to keep our band going, but it felt like
Yep.
naturally like we were all starting solo projects. Even the person who was drumming with us, Brandon, is his name. Like it was just kind of organically going in another direction, and like I wanted to get back to hip hop and like creating hip hop music, and so that's when I formed Jackson Whalen and started releasing in like 2013, and then graduated from school and just tried to start touring under my name, which brought me out to California. And I did like a West Coast thing out there, a tour where I actually ended up opening for Killa Priest and Brother Jay from the X Clan and like a couple
Dope.
other cats out there through this guy Dove, who runs Hip Hop Medicine is his company out there. Um,
Nice. Not mad at that.
yeah. So yeah, and then like I became kind of like almost disenchanted with the ultra spiritual vibes, that I was encountering from going to India, but also like, in Cali as well. And then, yeah, I made the Sensitive New Age Guy song at that point, pretty early in my solo career. Yeah.
The sensitive new age guy. What is that? What exactly were you saying is the sensitive new? What is the sensitive new age guy?
I mean, just like the guy who shows up and he's just like, just like let's just drop in and and just like, what was your past life? You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
That's
I don't
funny.
know if I'm ready to talk about that.
That's so funny. Sensitive
Yeah.
new age guy. You ended up studying so backtrack a tad. You ended up studying turntablism and with Rob Swift, the
Yeah, so
Executioners.
that was in the new school. Like when I got back from India, there
Oh,
was a class and Rob Swift was teaching at the new school,
dope.
and we actually I would walk over to Scratch Academy and I learned turntablism from him um, in like a semester in college, and then we've actually stayed in touch a little bit since then. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that was like the coolest course that I took in
Yeah.
school because it was like Rob Swift and he was such a great teacher, and like
That. Yeah.
that was a great way to finish
Yeah,
off my last
Executioners.
semester.
Yeah, Rob Swift, Executioners, R.I.P. Rock Raider. It was me coming up. I was a DJ first. Before I was a promoter, I was a DJ. And back then, you just had to kind of learn on your own. There was no courses. It was the only thing you could get was Invisible Scratch Pickles had a VHS tape, which was weird as hell. It was just like them as aliens and stuff. That you could watch, and they would kind of teach you a couple things. But other than
Yeah,
that, it was all feel. And shout out Peter Parker. He had a set of turntables first, and then I got some. And man, turntablism was great, man. It's kind of like a lost art form these days. Not so many people really incorporate it. There's probably various reasons why, but
Yeah.
It's there was the thing, and then with the scratch, when it kind of hit its peak with the Scratch documentary. Did you ever see that Scratch documentary?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've got the
Yeah,
DVD. Yeah.
yeah. That was kind of like almost the peak of it, and
Hmm.
did a huge tour in Boston. I saw them do the tour, the whole thing, come through Boston. Z Trip. First time I saw Z Trip, who's a total beast. Well, I was like, whoa. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, turntablism, man, scratching, cutting, mixing, love all that.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome to know that you were a DJ, man. I
Yeah.
knew, I was like, I want to ask Ned what he did that got him into music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I was like you. I started off just listening to it. I didn't rap. Well, I mean, I rapped a little bit, my boys.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
But then that was short-lived. But DJing, I really liked, because I just loved listening to music, so DJ came natural to me. I really loved mixing records together, even more
Yeah,
so than the scratching. I love blending beats, matching BPMs, all that shit. I love that. I love how
totally.
songs could transition into each other.
Yeah.
And I came up listening to the Primo tapes, the Tony Touch tapes, all that stuff, and
Hmm.
that was my thing.
Yeah.
But moving on, you also end up touring with Moon Hooch, from what I'm reading here, which is a
Yep.
big jam band.
Yeah.
And this is a solo? Is Jackson solo or with the
Yeah,
Technicolor?
solo. Yeah, solo.
And you do
Yeah.
looks like it's a nationwide tour.
Yeah, we did a ton of dates. I toured with them between 2015 and 2017, on and off. And like the way that I got into that was through my buddy Honeycomb, who you probably know is beatboxer.
Oh yeah,
So
oh
he
yeah.
was touring with them, and he was like, "Yo, come out and hop on this tour with me. I'm opening for Moonhooch." And so I originally came on as a guest MC with Honeycomb, and then I kind of became friends with Michael and Wenzel and James at the time from Moonhooch, and then they had me on one of their bigger tours, which was started out in Detroit. We went to Grand Rapids, Minneapolis, out to Denver, Boulder, Fort Collins, and all around the Midwest, and then down in like the South, we played Nashville, Atlanta, and then I did some stuff in the Pacific Northwest with them as well.
Tell me a crazy story from that tour.
Oh man, there's a lot of moments there, but
Give me one good one.
yeah. So like we're driving in Iowa or something late, like middle of the night.
No, middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere, like, and somebody put, I'm not gonna name any names, but somebody put gas, or somebody put diesel in a gas car, and it was a rental, and so, dude, it was
Whoops.
a mess. We had to, it was just horrible, dude. It was a long night.
So you
But,
broke it down in the middle of nowhere in Iowa?
Yeah,
Cornfields,
yeah.
no cell phone service?
Impossible to get it towed, and just,
That's the thing about driving across the country. People don't realize you break down in the wrong place, you could die.
Yeah.
Because you can't get to anybody. You know what I mean? You gotta
Yeah.
wait for someone to come by.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a serious issue.
It gets weird out there. And then I do remember this one city, I forget where it was, we were performing, but walk in the venue and the floor is all sticky, and like it was like hard to like step anywhere, and it was I think Insane Clown Posse had performed there the night before, and I don't know what they do, but I think they like spray stuff.
It's the Faygo root beer, or it's root beer or cola. I don't know what it is. They
Yeah.
spray soda all over the place.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
So, couple moments.
A venue's worst nightmare. If they're prepared for it, lay down tarps and stuff. I'll tell you a quick story, real quick on that.
Yeah.
Middle East one time did a black metal show or some type of metal show, and the band sprayed pig blood all over the place.
Oh my god.
And it had like dead carcasses wrapped around, like pig
Oh.
carcasses, like wrapped around the mics and stuff.
Oh.
Nasty. And then
Dude.
the manager at the time demanded that they clean it up. Well, they weren't getting paid. So at the end of the night, the whole band's on their knees scrubbing up pig's blood in order to get paid. That's venue life for you.
Yeah, not so vegan.
Not so clean.
Yeah. Kyle said, stoked I didn't work there at that time.
Yeah, Kyle, you are lucky with that.
That's
Yeah,
cool,
Kyle sees some crazy stuff. Kyle's, being in the EDM scene, man, he has some classic scenes too. He's got one video where the guy is just totally like wasted, headbanging, and just collapses in front of him performing, and then comes to and runs away with his shirt off. It's hilarious.
Oh my god.
Yep. One of my favorite live performance scenes, Kyle. Shout out to you. But from here, you actually take it to another level where you collaborate with a cellist, creating this thing called chamber rap, which is classical, right? You infuse classical traditions into this?
Yeah, so we so there's this guy named Dave who I met in New York City, Dave Egar, and he's a cellist, but he's also, you'll hear his cello on the new Black Thought album, and he also played like on a lot of Ja Rule stuff back in the day, and he's just like kind of one of these musicians who's like everywhere.
Studio musician, session player.
Yeah, he was on tour with Evanescence, and he did some stuff with Philip Phillips, who won the American Idol a few years back. But he
Not
came to me with
that
this,
one.
Yeah, he came to me with this idea of taking this classical piece called "Death and the Maiden" by Franz Schubert, who's a composer, and we created a hip hop song out of it, and that was our project.
Have you seen that movie, Death and the Maiden?
No, I haven't seen the movie actually.
Sigourney Weaver and who played Gandhi? What's his name? I forget his name. Ben.
Dude, I'm gonna watch this tonight.
It's a screwed up movie. It's pretty crazy. It's one of those psychological mind fucks.
Okay, well, yeah, it probably has something to do with this song because the song is also kind of dark and weird.
Yeah, I can't remember if the movie was based. If there's a book, you said there's a book.
There's a poem, and then there's like the composition, the classical music.
I'm sure the movie came after, but
yeah, maybe
I don't know. But it's a screwed up movie anyway.
Yeah.
Who the heck is the guy who played Gandhi? What was his name? Who won the Academy Award? Ben?
I don't remember.
I can't believe I can't remember.
Maybe
He's
somebody in the comments
Beast.
can assist us.
Sexy Beast. Who the heck is this guy? I can't believe I'm getting old, like forgetting things. If anybody could shout out who played Gandhi, won the Academy Award, let me know, please. This is going to screw me up. But anyway, moving on. That's crazy. So, I mean, the eclectic range that you've had is pretty impressive. I mean, it's kind of like I said, I go back to the roots in the beginning and their ability to make it very eclectic and range in many different things, but kind of has taken the back seat over the last 10 years. Hip-hop has gotten less eclectic, and I feel like that kind of hurts it because I always appreciate when people add new elements into the culture, whether it was live instrumentation or whatever it is. I think that's very important.
That's what Lord Finesse was saying on your podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, real quick, Ben Kingsley. Thank you, Kyle. Ben Kingsley is in Death and the Maiden. Sigourney Weaver, get Ben Kingsley.
Yeah.
Mindfuck movie if you want to see it. Death and the Maiden.
Dude, I'll watch it,
back to eclectiveness. Thank you for this ability. I think do you think that like musicians don't take hip hop as serious because it is less eclectic, and then hip hop people sometimes are like, I don't want to hear all that and all those instruments. It seems like it's a tough give and take in that area.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways to look at that. I feel like some people want to ride the wave that's happening right now, which requires you. Yeah, I mean most, maybe most. And even me sometimes, like I realize the necessity of making a certain kind of sounding music to reach a certain audience. But I think
Right.
that there's also an element of experimentation that like kind of made hip hop happen in the first place. You know, that was
Yeah.
an example of creating a new genre. You know, hip hop was created. You know, it wasn't always there. Somebody made it. You know, from being experiment. You know, from experimenting, and I feel like it, and then a bunch of music that sounded like that started coming out, and I feel like there's people who are like originators, and there's people who are kind of like, you know, inspired and influenced, and then there's people who might be on the fringes, like creating something that's super far out that no one understands yet. And I don't even think I'm like that extreme in that regard. But I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I just think people get locked into like wanting to sound like what is successful right now. And
Yeah.
I mean, we all want to make a living, you know.
Yeah, that's always been a thing, you know,
Yeah.
in hip hop, unfortunately. I mean, even people that go say, "Oh, the '90s were the greatest," and they were, but people were still mimicking what was popular, making a specific sound. If people gravitate towards a specific sound, people think naturally, "Well, I should do that. I'll get the same results." But you know, if you're duplicating a sound, I think that's where the problem is because if you're not going to get ahead duplicating something because something already
Yeah.
exists. Why would anybody care? I think how you can be different and how do you stand out from everybody else is really the most important part.
Yeah.
If you don't
Yeah.
stand out, you're gonna, you know, you're not gonna be noticed.
Yeah. I feel like it's important to like try stuff, you know.
Right?
At the same time, if you're an artist who's doing it full time and it's like you're a brand, then your sound is part of the brand too. So it's like, you know, sometimes it makes sense to stay within a certain container of music, but I feel like sometimes it's okay to like branch out, like put some slide guitar on a hip hop beat, or um,
Yeah.
do a classical song and make it into a hip hop song, or, you know, I feel like the Roots were so good at that, and like that was also one of my original inspirations was the Roots, and like, yeah,
Yeah.
there's, yeah,
So the Roots really kind of when they came out was kind of more of like a jazz band mixed with hip hop. Wouldn't you
hmm
say?
yeah,
It has evolved from that into many different elements that they have incorporated since then.
yeah,
I'll take it back to Stetsasonic, which I feel is the first hip hop band.
uh-huh,
Um, they pushed boundaries back then, but you know, at the same time, hip hop was created because they couldn't get bands. You know what I mean? It was like, well, we can't get all these musicians, we can't afford all this studio time, we can't create this original stuff, so we're just going to use samples and recreate that. So at the same time, it's you know you're playing off that, but you know nowadays you can't really use samples as much. So the need for live, you know, producers who can make their own music from scratch, in my opinion, is very and have it sound hip hop and have it be dope is very important. And you as a producer also, right? You produce too,
yeah,
correct?
yeah,
And
yeah.
you
I mean,
work with, I know you work with, forgive me for getting his name, who's on the keys?
Ian Evans, yeah,
Ian Evans.
yeah. He's a
So how do
Berkeley. He
how,
went to Berkeley.
so how do you guys work together making beats and stuff? Because I know you put out some instrumental albums and stuff like
Yeah,
that. How do you make beats?
yeah. So like we're here in my studio. I might as well just show
There
you
we
my
go.
setup here.
All right, here we
I've
go.
got Ableton and controller and turntable, and then my drum pads and stuff like that. And then so like when we're sitting here, oftentimes like Ian's focusing more on the melodic side, and I'm more on the production with the beats and like the actual drum beats and
Yeah.
percussive stuff, and then like arrangement. Um, and so like with the Ableton Push, um, I can like loop him live on the spot. So we're really creating in like a very nonstop kind of way where we're like looping stuff. And then from there, you know, we arrange stuff and kind of track stuff out. And then, you know, I started making beats so that I could rap over them. So then I kind of get into the songwriting, and I've been becoming more and more interested in songwriting lately. but yeah, so we've created probably more beats than I have like in my lifetime. If we didn't make any more beats right now, I'd be going through trying to finish stuff probably for the rest of my life. So sometimes it's important for us to stop ourselves from keep continuing to create new shit, you know?
No, it's hard. It's always hard to like finish the old without going into the new. I see that with a lot of artists.
Yeah,
They just want to keep creating new, and I'm like, guys, we got to finish this. These tracks need to be mixed. We got to take
yeah,
this time to mix it because that's not necessarily the fun part. Sitting there listening
yeah,
to it get mixed. But I like mixing because I work with the producer, the archetype. Most of the time, and he's adding stuff. So to me, that's great. Because
yeah,
he's post production, which another very important part, post production.
yeah,
Who you work with, you adding stuff and like that, making it even tighter. Um, that sounds better than the rough mix you recorded.
yeah.
So it's like, but
Totally.
yeah, that's great though. Is Jackson Whalan, since you were rebranded as Jackson Whalan, have you always rapped over your own beats?
Um, yeah, not just my own, but most like the majority of my songs are usually my beats or something that I've co-produced with somebody.
Okay. Yeah.
But honestly, I love rapping over other people's beats and like whether it's like someone featuring me or just a collab or something, or if someone sends me beats and they're fire, like I love to do that. It's honestly
Yeah.
almost better in some ways to rap over other people's beats because I feel like I don't have that attachment to the production. Because also, like, as a producer, I could be writing a verse and also thinking I get distracted, like, oh, I got to change
Yeah.
that beat or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's a mixed bag, but I kind of started making beats out of necessity, but now I love to do it, you know?
Yeah. I want to go back a little bit. You did a song that you note as being a very significant point, another significant point in your career, a collab with Mr. Liff from Boston
Yeah, yeah,
called
I
Rap
thought,
City in Denial.
yeah.
Why was this song so significant?
Well, because Liff was like one of my favorite artists and still is, but yeah, like seeing him perform. I saw him perform when I was a teenager at this festival called Mountain Jam. He was also an MC who really travels in that jam band circle too, like
Yeah, well,
with
he's in, what's the band,
Thievery
the group he's in?
Corporation.
Yeah, Thievery Corporation. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, he was kind of the first like known MC that I collaborated with, and it was like just a big milestone for me because I had never really done a track with an artist who had accomplished as much as him, you know, in terms of just being like, in my eyes, a legendary artist from the Boston area and stuff too. So
Yeah, I've
yeah.
my first company I worked for, Metro Concepts, when it came to Boston, 2001, managed Mr. Liff. So
Oh,
I was
cool.
part. I was a part. I remember when he signed the deal to Def Jux. I remember all those early Def Jux shows with Liff opening up. LPs, album release party, Sep Rocks album release party, all those things.
Yeah.
And then Liff even selling out the Middle East on it downstairs and bigger rooms on his own because he was such a big local artist. I mean, Liff is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now we get to see him doing home renovations now on his Instagram. He's a
Real
landlord
estate. Yeah.
or management company, which I would never have predicted. I'm really curious if he's actually doing the physical work himself, but because I wouldn't seen that coming either. But
Yeah.
shout
I
out to
mean,
Liff.
yeah. He also was on an album with another electronic producer called Polish Ambassador. You know who
Oh
that
yeah,
is?
yeah.
Yeah.
I booked a lot of EDM. I'm familiar with it. Being at the Middle
Yeah.
East, I booked everything. So
Totally.
EDM was Polish Ambassador. Oh yeah.
Dude, I
Right.
mean, I remember, I think I met you a while back. I did a show in Middle East upstairs opening for this electronic artist, Random Rab.
Oh yeah. Shout out
Remember
to
that?
Aaron Roy with Bean Dream Productions.
Aaron. Yeah.
Me and him worked a lot of that stuff together.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, man. I definitely have traveled in those circles a lot, and
Yeah.
I have to say I'm more interested in kind of being in the hip hop realm now.
Yeah, because I
Definitely.
noticed that. I noticed that when we first talked, I was like, when you go to your Spotify and whatnot, all these similar artists and everything is all EDM for the most part,
I know.
jam band stuff. And
I'm actually trying to like shift that right now.
well, no, I'd be honest with you. I think you keep both going
Yeah.
because I think just like anything, you want more options.
Hmm.
So having both is huge. It means like if I said I only did one type of music on this show, I'd limit myself. You don't want to limit yourself.
Hmm.
Like in my opinion, you do whatever you want. But like I've just noticed, the more options you have, the more opportunities you'll have, especially as an artist.
Definitely. No, I appreciate that. And yeah, like I noticed that with beats. Like when I just put out beats, it reaches a whole new audience just because there's no lyrics on it. And it's like when you add lyrics to something, it creates like a worldview that like other people have to connect with that. And but if it's just music, you can be whoever you are, and it's just music, you know. So I'm seeing
Yeah,
that.
and it can be played anywhere. I mean, I think I have a theory that I don't know if it's correct that instrumental and beat albums are popular because people can just throw them on at work while they do work. In the
Totally.
background, there's no swears, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just like
clean.
it's like it just kind of works, and that's why I think sometimes the lo-fi and the ambient stuff really works is because again, you can do work to it. Um,
Yeah,
it's or you want to wind down driving home, or you're trying to listen to something to chill out, because the world is a stressful place. That works. I think that's my theory. I don't know why it's so popular over stuff with lyrics. I don't know. You know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so popular, like playlists on Spotify with like lo-fi hip hop, and um, my buddy just got like 1 million streams on a track that's like it's like a 2 minute song, and it's all instrumental, and it's just like a chill hip hop track, and it's like way bigger than like a lot of tracks with like almost like pop songs, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Lateb.
Let's
Awesome.
have the God in the building. I want to go
Yeah.
into another thing here, which I find very interesting, is this personal crisis that you talk about. If it's what I think it is, which I think it is, because I think you had talked about it on the track with Kyle Bent. Is that right?
um yeah, I mean, I definitely talk, well, I don't know if that
You
track
talk about a
is.
story about
Oh
getting
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
being having a little incident with the police.
Yeah. 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 So I had a run in.
Is this the personal crisis?
Yes. Yeah.
So
Totally.
what happened? Because me and you have a similar story with that, I think.
Oh, really?
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
I'm
You go
excited to hear
first.
yours too.
You go
Um,
first.
yeah. So yeah, through touring and stuff, I kind of like I started working on these farms out in California,
Yeah.
in between touring,
Farms?
uh,
What kind of farms?
like trimming cannabis.
Okay, all right. Let's be clear.
um, and and then yeah, I got pretty deep into that
Yeah.
world, and then I was a series of pretty crazy events happened when I was out in California, where like just things went wrong, and people got robbed, and
Yeah.
it sucked. And so I was trying to get away from all that. I was driving back east, uh, and like I didn't relinquish everything that I had out there, and so I got pulled over, and um, I spent a night in jail in Wyoming. Um,
How's
and
that?
then that was weird,
Wyoming
man.
jail. Yeah.
It was pretty. It wasn't the worst, but it
Yeah.
was it was what it was, and like, so long story short, I ended up on probation for about a year and a half, until 2 weeks before the pandemic. So,
Damn.
but so it became really hard to play shows and like do a lot of the things that I was used to doing. But the good thing was that it really changed my life in a positive way, because I became sober, and basically like, you know, started focusing on my music as a business instead of relying on other stuff. to supplement with, and
totally,
you know, and I really saw like who was really there for me, you know, and like who kind of falls away when you're not doing well, and like that whole thing changed my life too. And but man, I'm through all that, and it's all good now, and I'm like got off, and I'm consider myself extremely fortunate, and I know that it doesn't happen that way for everyone. Yeah, it just, and then the pandemic hit, and it's like the whole world was on probation. So so yeah, man, that was a pivotal moment, but it, you know, I take my music way more seriously because of it.
Yeah. And I'll just briefly recap mine. I did it for 5 years, not on a farm, but you know, this is back when the weeds were in bricks. The brick weed where you have to saw it apart. You know, and I did that for 5 years, just, you know, paying the bills with that. And, you know, and until that day came crashing down. I had saved up my money, got into school, got into Northeastern, was going to attack the music scene. And first semester in, I get pinched back in my own town in Sandown, New Hampshire. And I'm facing 2 to 6 years in jail and all this other terrible stuff. And it was a nightmare. But just like you, once that was gone, and luckily I beat it on a legal search and seizure, but I was able to focus. I started Leedz right after that. Once all that was gone, I started Leedz, and that was my new change. And
wow,
you know, all the money that I thought I was going to save towards starting something was all gone to lawyers and bail.
The legal,
the story's even crazier. But you know, just to say though, you know, when it was all said and done, people what I realized was I wasted time hustling in the wrong direction versus the right direction, even though the wrong direction was paying me more. And that was the toughest part, was to leave the money. Once I would always, music would always been a secondary. My business would have always been secondary to that until it was gone. And it wasn't until it was gone that I realized that. But when you're in it, it's hard to see it, you know?
Yeah, so, I definitely.
So I commend you on taking a bad situation and going right. We're learning from it.
Yeah, dude, it's amazing to hear that you like started Leedz after that, and like, I can relate to that, man. I feel like I got way more focused on the business side because I had to, you know, and because there wasn't that like fallback of I gotta have this, and then also there were moments where I was derailed from my music because I was like getting too hungry in that other area, and trying, and like sometimes, especially in the beginning when you're involved in that stuff, the money comes like magically, and then when you get deep into it, it's like it doesn't anymore too. Like it becomes tougher, and stressful. Man, I feel like, and out there, I think because everything's going legal, like the non-legal stuff became so. The prices were dropping and people were getting really too hungry, you know, and I was a part of that like time out there, and I feel like there was a lot of desperation out there in Northern Cali, but I don't know. It's definitely...
Well, you know, you get caught up sometimes, and then it takes a bad situation to change. And like I said, you know, it usually takes a bad situation to be removed from that situation. So, you know, the question is, can people learn from it and move on? I don't recommend that life to anybody, but, you know, you can bounce back and channel that energy and hustle drive into something more positive. Yeah,
and not to get too snag or sensitive new age guy, but I feel like, you know, the universe can step in sometimes when you're not aligned with yourself and kind of slap you back into place. Like,
I totally agree with that. I totally agree that my higher power did for me what I couldn't do in that situation.
Yeah,
because I was never leaving. You know, like how could I? What was going to pay me more? So it was like, you know, and I was 21 years old. You know what I mean? Like that was it. You know. So, I believe the universe, spirituality, God, whatever you want to call it, will intervene. And that was one of the key moments for me.
Yeah, cool.
Moving on. From the Woods album, last project, right?
Yeah, that was the last full-length project. Yeah.
Right. Talk about making that one because that one seems to be the one.
Yeah. I mean, that album, I've made a lot of it through the pandemic. I had gone on this spree of releasing singles like as much as I could every month. Kind of inspired by like Russ, or kind of how he blew up independently, just like putting out music as much as possible. And then I still had a lot of music on my hard drive that wasn't finished. And I had also studied branding and marketing a bit.
Yeah, you've
And
done a good job with that.
thank you, man. Yeah, so like From the Woods was like me finding that and finding what is true to me, and like
Right.
really owning where I'm from. And like instead of trying, instead of moving to the big city and like repping the city, it's like, yo, I'm repping the woods. Like this is where I'm from. So that was the statement of that album. But different tracks on there, just like showcasing my lyrical ability and production. And then like, after the album, that song, the title song, From the Woods, with the slide guitar, like when I made that beat, I just like heard Krs One. I was like, I can hear him on this. I think because there was like a little old school organ sound in there, and I was like, man, this sounds like some old school like Krs One vibes. And so I had a couple friends of friends who I reached out to and like emailed him, before I released my album, and just didn't hear back. So I was like, I'm not gonna wait, I'm gonna put my album out. And then I heard back after the album was out, and they were like, we're ready, we're going to the studio. And so I was like, rather than creating a whole new tune, I still wanted him on that, so he was on the remix, and so that was like the biggest accomplishment to date, was just collaborating with Krs One and like getting him on that song. And like I think that for any artists who like, I don't know, just trying to do well out there, I just feel like it's important to recognize that your song can have many lives, like that From the Woods song it became the remix, which I don't know, something else might happen with it in the future, like it's important to push stuff.
And you did something interesting with it that, some people do. You did like a crowdfunding? You did like a campaign to help, make that joint happen. You did like, and you got fans to donate money and basically support you to make the Krs One feature happen.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, yeah, I'm so thankful that happened. Like that was, I did that because of the time crunch, like I wasn't prepared to hear back, like sometimes you send these cold emails to people like your heroes, and you're like, wouldn't that be cool if this happened, like, and then you forget about it, and then they hit you back because they're on a whole different timeline. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, now I have to figure this out in like a week, and I'm totally not ready. But like that's where my community came in and really made it happen. Like,
yeah, it was dope. It was a dope track. It wasn't just like I felt like he really cared about doing it. Like I felt like he wasn't like, oh, just give me the money, I'll just go in the studio and bang it out. Like I feel like he really was like, oh, it's this dope concept. He gave you 100% of it. You know what I mean? He did extra promo for you, shouted you out. I mean, that's what you want. That's what you want.
Yeah, and I've kept in touch a little bit since then too. And
did you deal with Simone, his wife?
Yeah.
Shout out Simone. I've done multiple Krs One shows at some of my favorite concerts I've ever done.
Dude, his show is crazy.
At the Middle East, Krs One Middle East downstairs, tough to top. Tell you right now, tough to top.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, Simone's awesome. But there's some more stuff in the works right now. I can't say anything yet.
No, that's fine.
But things have grown a little bit from there, so there might be some more to report soon on
he's
that.
He's one of my faves. He's one of my faves.
Yeah. Like you were saying, like I really felt like he cared about it,
Yeah,
and
wasn't mailed in.
And no, and like also I've been watching his Temple of Hip Hop thing every Sunday. You ever tune in on that?
No, no, no.
Dude, it's like 3 hour long stream on
Oh
YouTube
boy.
of him with the Gospel of Hip Hop, just like reading through the scriptures, dude.
Scriptures of what? The Gospel of HipHop
Yep, the
scriptures?
Gospel of Hip Hop.
I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a full book. I have to check that out.
Dude, yeah, he's got like a Bible. Dude, it's
I
crazy.
remember when he was. I remember when he was promoting the Temple of Hip Hop. I didn't know the Gospel
Yeah,
of Hip Hop.
yeah. So
I know he had books out on like fatherhood and stuff like that, but I didn't know it was the Gospels really.
yeah, yeah. I actually met him once, and the way that I met him was that he was doing a reading of the Gospel of Hip Hop at a Barnes and Noble in New York City. And so I went to the Barnes and Noble and I heard him read a little bit and I got to say hi to him and stuff.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Krs One Religion.
Yeah, it's funny. Did you see the recent verses thing? Yeah.
Yeah. It's he's tough to top, and I mean Kane did a really good job. To be honest, I thought it was going to be more of like KRS just dominating Kane. Kane's breath control was impeccable. The different type of rappers, KRS One exerts himself a lot more harder and he needs to take breaks because of his ability to go. Because when he screams and yells, Kane is just monotone.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both two of the best.
Yeah. I always respect artists who can like rap every word.
Yeah.
And
KRS's catalog is just a little more extensive. So it's,
and his energy is ridiculous.
And that was what's so great about the downstairs, because it was low ceilings and the energy was just like crazy.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this last joint that just came out, the Thought Pollution joint.
Yeah.
Which is a killer collabo. It's with, you made the beat. It's got Ritz, Just Juice, and Lateb. And, for those who don't know, Just Juice and Lateb from New England. Ritz is obviously, I forget, where's he from? Is he from
I think
South?
he's from the South. I know he lives in Atlanta, but I think he's from somewhere in the South. Yeah.
Yeah. Ryan Mills kind of A&R'd that thing. Another New England native. And the beat is dope as hell. Did you make and you worked on that with Ian, right?
Yeah, me and Ian made the beat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, did you just make the beat first, or how did the process go with that?
Yeah, so Ryan, came to me with the idea for the track, and this was like sometime after the KRS One song, and then I just started running some, demo beats by him, and then he picked that one, so we like ran with that and developed it, and Ian Evans played on that as well, and just like did a bunch of revisions until we were all happy with it. And then Ryan picked the different MCs that he wanted to be on it, and then I kind of acted as like a liaison to get those artists on and handle the business side of it, and yeah, so that was like a unique collab. I've never done things like that before. It was like a commission, so that was dope, and like it was cool to sit back and be the producer and not rap on that one. I feel like also I went from 3,000 monthly listeners on Spotify to now there's like 37,000 monthly listeners on Spotify.
Yeah, that's the one thing I want to talk about is that song kind of took off on streaming. I mean, I do a lot of campaigns, a lot of different things. This thing did better than average.
Yeah, totally.
Obviously Ritz, Juice have really big online followings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you do a good job too. And Lateb is solid as well. So I don't, maybe it's just a part of all of that put together. I mean, what are your thoughts on?
Lateb and I are still building. I feel like Juice and Ritz are like pretty far along with their online following. But yeah, I mean, I've just been super diligent about, pitching to the release radar through Spotify for artists.
Did that get picked up for that?
Well, whenever you use Spotify for artists to pitch to playlists, and then if you do it more than 7 days in advance, it automatically
Release radar.
goes into the release radar. So
Yeah.
I've always done that. And then
Right.
I didn't see any editorial playlists.
Yeah, it's tough to get. I've never gotten one of those either.
Yeah, I've been trying, you know. It's like,
if you didn't get with that, I mean, it's gonna. What are you gonna get it with, you know?
yeah, I've done so much research on that. I feel like it's kind of random. Like my one buddy who'd never released a song before, like got on one, and he had no idea how it happened. So shout out to I have another Jackson Whalan in here.
Really?
Yeah, he makes music. It's Medi 830. Cool. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I'm happy that one came out. I'm kind of in between releases right now, but
that was a good one.
Definitely.
Shout out Ryan Mills for putting that all together, and everybody else involved, anybody streaming that. It is a New England thing.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan.
Shout out Ritz for coming to New England.
Yeah.
But, Jackson, I got to wrap this up, man, but this has been really great, man. It's been good connecting with you over the last year and seeing your growth and, you know, you doing it for New England and Western Mass and really putting your brand and working hard.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you seeing that.
I wish the pandemic wasn't happening. We'd probably be doing a couple shows. We've tried, but it's just tough times right now.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to get out there and, dude, definitely much respect to you and what you're doing for the whole Northeast and hip hop in general, dude. I've looked up to you for a long time, man. So it's good to finally get to conversate here.
Well, thank you, man. And it's good working with good people. I like working with like-minded, hardworking individuals, and you are that.
Cool. Likewise, man. I'll definitely be sharing this podcast out.
Yeah. So we'll talk soon, brother, and keep up the work. And that's it. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Leedz Entertainment Podcast, brought to you by the Chubby Chickpea Restaurant and the Mellow Dispensary in Haverhill. Thank you.